to Horsefly Chronicles Radio with Julia and Philip Siracusa, sponsored by Carnation, airing live on the United Public Radio Network on 105.3 FM in New Orleans. This show's entrance has been edited, produced, and directed by Gwen Clapper from Perfect Trust Productions, LLC. You can find us at perfecttrustproductions.com.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Monday night segment of Horsefly Chronicles Radio with myself, Julia Siracusa, and Phil Siracusa. We're broadcasting live from the International Public Radio and the United Paranormal Radio Network on 105.3 FM from New Orleans. This evening's show is fully sponsored by Carnation, so we want to thank them for their sponsorship. You'll have to do a few things in order to participate. Go over to our YouTube channel, UFO Paranormal Radio or International Public Radio. You can also go into all of our Facebook stations, UFO Paranormal Radio Network, UFO Undercover with Joe Montaldo, News on the Flip Side, Twitch, SoundCloud, and Podbeam. Also go over to our group, Horsefly Chronicles Radio. Get in if you haven't. Today, guys, we have two amazing guests. Please welcome Francis and Doug from Beyond the Veil Investigations. They are a married couple who investigate the paranormal. Francis has had paranormal experience throughout her life, but it wasn't until they had a child and moved into a haunted house that the experiences intensified. Since then, they have dedicated themselves to learning as much as they can about the paranormal, including investigating haunted locations and getting the best evidence out there to prove what their experience is real. They're also content producers at paraflix.com, and you can find out all about them on their website, Beyond Veil Investigations, at Linktree. So let's welcome them both to the show.
Welcome.
Oh, thanks for having us, you guys.
We're excited to be here.
Thank you for coming on tonight.
Oh, no.
So this is interesting. You have an interesting bio. Take us to the beginning. You know, whoever wants to start first. Like, what was your first encounter with the supernatural?
Well, for me, I was really young. We're originally from Arizona, so as a child, I would experience. It started with little things like being in my room and hearing somebody call my name, or I'd wake up at night and see, like, the best way I could describe it is energy, like giant ball of energy sitting at the edge of my bed. It would just be spinning, and I was like afraid of it. So I'd turn away, and I'd have nights where I'd feel something sit right next to me on the bed, but I was terrified. You know, I just didn't want to pay any attention to it. And then when I was probably in my late teens, I actually saw, I was a passenger in a car, and we were driving midday, and I saw a girl standing in the middle of the road. And I remember thinking, wow, she has this really long dress on. It's so hot out here because Arizona, 115 degrees. And I was looking at her, and I was like, it's like she had a long dress on, long sleeves. And I'm like, it's so weird. I can't believe she's wearing that. And as I looked up, I realized she had really long hair, and I couldn't really see her face though. And it just like shocked me. And so like, I just froze. And as the car turned, the person driving the car is like, did you just see that? And I'm like, oh my God, did you see that too? They're like, oh my God. And we were freaking out. That person would never talk about it again. They wouldn't talk about it. They didn't want to talk about it with me. And then it kind of went on from there. It was mostly little things like that. We have two older kids that had little things happen that would, like my son one time was in a store, and he's like, I don't like that woman over there. I'm like, what woman? You know? And he's like, there's an old lady sitting over there staring at me, and I don't like the way she's smiling at me. And so I looked over there. I'm like, okay. I'm like, it's okay. Don't worry. I saw it, little kid. But when we had our daughter, who's 9, we moved to Ohio. That's just when everything just got.
Yeah, this is interesting. So
this has a lot of similarities.
Yeah, let's back up a little bit. How old were you?
When
the first experience, the very first.
Gosh, probably maybe 6, 7.
Okay, and so you were 6, 7, and that was your first experience. You see like this ball of energy. And as you're going on through life, now you're starting to. So do you actually see with your eyes a person, a ghost person, for example?
A girl. Yeah, I saw her midday. It was like 12:30 in the afternoon, and I saw her right in the middle of the road, in the middle of traffic. And I thought that's so weird because it's traffic, and I was like, oh my God, it looks so hot in that dress. I couldn't believe the way she was dressed, and that was the first time I ever like saw a person.
So it wasn't the mind's eye.
No.
It was the physical eye that's seeing this.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
And what did she disappear?
What's that?
She disappeared?
No, because what scared me is this car turned, she turned with the car. And that's what caught my attention was, at first I was like just staring at her. I was frozen. And as the car turned, her whole body turned with it. And I was just like so scared until the person next to me was like, did you just see that? And we realized we both had seen the same thing. And
does this look like somebody from like the 18th century or somebody from the 17th century or the 19th century?
Because it was a long dress. I remember it was yellow. I told him that I'm gonna get a tattoo of her someday because she's burned in my brain. Long sleeves with lace, and it was definitely a high dress, and it was to the ground. And she had long dark hair. And I'll always remember what she looked like. Always.
I was gonna say that's gonna
so that's like the
stick with
1800s, right? The long dress.
Yeah.
Down the 1800s. Right.
That's creepy.
I ask you these questions because I've been doing radio for a long time, and there's a pattern, and it's fitting the pattern of the adventure of the ghost and how they appear into your life, right? Yeah. And what about your husband? Take us to like your beginning story.
Oh, well, my first experience wasn't until we had our child and moved into a house up here in the Cleveland area. It wasn't until we moved into the haunted house that was mentioned in our bio that I had my first experience. Like, I didn't grow up with it or have experiences all the time. It wasn't until it was in my face and all at once and very intense. That was my first experience.
Well, what do you mean in your face? Can you give us some description of what you encountered, what your thoughts were, how you felt?
Oh man, it was well, to start off, we first moved into this house. We didn't feel anything the first little bit. And our first experience was there was a crawl space. We're from Tucson, Arizona. There's no such thing as crawl spaces. Attics aren't common there. It was, very ranch style 1-story houses. So the thought of a crawl space was new to me, and I couldn't get this dang thing open. I tried prying it. I got a screwdriver, knives and everything. I couldn't get it open. And it wasn't until, was it like a week later?
Like 2 months later.
2 months later when I go upstairs, and Francis had a big jewelry box. It was on 4 legs, probably like a 3 or 4 foot tall one. This thing was moved out of the way, and the crawl space that I could not get open with all my might was just wide open.
Wow.
So that right there was my first experience of not.
Yeah. Was there anything in the crawl space?
What's that?
Was there anything in there?
No. I stuck my head in. I looked around. I didn't see anything.
It was a huge open space.
It was monstrous. I didn't get in there and climb around. So, I mean, there could have been something in the depths of it, but not just that I was scared, but I was nervous. I didn't want to go in there and explore around.
Yeah, some of those crawl spaces are huge. They look small in the beginning. We had an old Victorian house.
I was going to say that. And it was sealed up.
You stick your head in there, and it gets bigger and wider. Like if you have the courage to go in there and not fall through the floor. But some of them are really big.
Yeah.
And
you have to wonder, why is it sealed up?
Exactly.
Yep. Exactly.
There's got to be a reason why.
Mm-hmm.
And that right there, that crawl space opening on its own was it was the catalyst for everything. Mm-hmm. It was we lived there for 2 years, under 2 years after that. Mm-hmm. And it was nonstop paranormal experiences after that. The place was very, very haunted.
And you don't live there anymore, right?
No.
We left before the lease was up.
Yeah.
Okay.
So let's talk about those paranormal experiences. What happened in that house?
Well, it started off small. It started off with, the traditional noises, and then like bangs and stuff like that. We didn't really pay too much attention to. One of the first experiences.
Well, that and the energy.
Yeah, it was very heavy.
You couldn't walk up the stairs without feeling like there was something at the bottom of the stairs watching you walk up. There was always something watching you.
It was.
And you guys are paranormal people. You know what that's like when you can feel something watching you.
That's the worst
You
part.
felt like that 100% of the time.
We wouldn't even go to the bathroom at night because I was so afraid to go down the stairs, because when I was coming back up, I could feel it. So if I had to go, I made him go stand at the stairs and watch me because I was so scared.
I'm laughing because we've done that.
You know, let me ask, you're a husband and wife. We're a husband and wife, and I want to ask you something.
Yeah, we are.
You know, do you think it was a person that crossed over maybe in that house or in that area, or do you think it was an attachment that's followed one of you up until that point and then somehow opened up into, hey, let's play now. I want to communicate with you.
Me personally, I know Frances has had experiences her whole life, but just from my own feelings and what we went through, I think that whatever was in that house was sitting there waiting for us.
Yeah.
It was there. It was there. It was very unlike anything she had experienced, unlike anything I'd ever heard of at the time. Whatever it was sitting there like Monty Burns, just waiting for us.
That's what we do.
And I believe it had something to do with the energy of our daughter, because she was the focus, I think, of why I got all the negative energy. I think, you know, the things that happened to her, I think it was like trying to come after me to get me away from her, if that makes any sense.
Yeah. It wanted the baby.
Mm-hmm.
Really?
Wow. Did you do any research on the house to like see?
I tried to do some research, and I couldn't find anything except from a name like 20 years ago. But of course, before that, we had learned like a year and a half into it from a neighbor that house had been abandoned before we moved in here. So there, we did not know. I had went to the manager and told him that I was hearing voices in the house. If he'd had former complaints from other tenants, he's like, no. He's like, why? And I was like, I'm telling you, we hear women calling out. We had voices mimicking our older son that would call me, and my son wasn't home. And I would tell him, he's like, oh, no, it's just an old house. You know, they make noises. But then we found out from the neighbor that he hadn't owned it for very long. He had bought it, abandoned, and fixed up, and we were the first ones that moved in.
He hadn't heard anything from previous tenants because he didn't have any previous tenants.
Yeah, and we didn't know that.
He bought the thing abandoned, renovated it, and rented it to us, and didn't tell us it had previously been abandoned for X amount of years.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's not good.
No.
Where you live today, is the same spirit or entity with you?
Yeah.
There's energy here. Like, again, I think a lot of it revolves around our daughter. She has seen things. I've experienced a lot in this house, but she has actually seen something when her and my son were here one night. He's 23, so he's much older, and they're watching a movie. We're at a concert, and he just sends me a text message. He's like, Mom, something just ran up the stairs. He's like, I full on heard footsteps running up the stairs, and the dog ran after it. And he's like, I am freaking out. I'm like, you got to stay calm. He's like, she's really, really scared. You know, I was like, you got to go upstairs. Sure, nothing's there. Go up there. He's like, I don't want to. You know, I'm like, you got to go up there. So he took her up there and showed her nothing's in the house. Well, I came home that night. He was very freaked out. He said it just sounded like someone stomping all the way up the stairs. And there's a gate up there, and the gate never opened. Well, she didn't really say anything to me until about 2 weeks later. I was folding laundry, and she just comes up to me. She's like, why did brother lie to me? I'm like, lie to you about what? And she's like, about the woman. I'm like, what woman? And she's like, I saw her running up the stairs. And I'm like, at first it took me a minute to realize what she was talking about. I'm like, what woman? She's like, that night I saw her running up the stairs. And she described her head to toe, what she looked like, what she was wearing. And, you know, I was a little freaked out, and I just said, well, what did she look like? And she described her. I was like, did she look at you? And she said she was running, and she looked at me like that and just kept running up the stairs. And she was emotional because she said she didn't look like a ghost. She's like, she looked real to me. She's like, I could see her skin. So it really freaked her out because her mind was a ghost to see through. And so she was really emotional about it. She was like really upset and crying. And she's like, it was just so real, you know? And so I just talked to her about it. And she's like, what? She was confused as to why she saw it. And I told her that, you know, I just think she has some special abilities that, you know, that Mom has some of them too, and it's okay. And she's opened up to me over the last couple of years of things that she sees and hears in the house. And I let her know I believe her. I let her talk to me about it because it can be unsettling for sure. You know, there's definitely you'll hear the office chair rolling across the room. You know, weird things like that, but it's not bad like at the other house.
So it's not like something that's evil trying to like
The other
destroy.
house was bad.
This house, you feel and hear things, but you don't get that feeling that you're being watched or that you're doing something wrong or that something's going to happen to you. You just don't have that feeling here.
But maybe something was attached to your daughter and it followed you to this house. Is that what you guys think?
Yeah, I don't know. Because I said it's such a different. That other house was horrible. We had a lot of really horrible things happen, and this house, it's energy. I mean, you can feel it, you know it's here, but it's just not the same. That's why I'm not scared like I was over there.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah.
Have you recorded any EVPs?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, we've gotten several EVPs and we've played with the spirit box in here. We don't do it very often, just because
not a long time.
we caught a spirit box voice. I think it was the second time we were just fooling around with it, and we got a voice that was very creepy. It said, "Who's there?"
Yeah.
And it was crystal clear through the spirit box, and right there we're like, "Yep, turn it off. I don't need to hear any more of that in my living room."
It's really hard. A lot of people say you shouldn't investigate your own house, but it's not. It's kind of hard not to sometimes because you're just all right. Like I don't know.
Well, I mean, I'm always a curiosity seeker. You know, I want to know what's going on in my house. So, you know, that's everybody has an opinion. I have my opinion, and we had 52 paranormal teams come here before I was convinced of anything. To be quite frank, I have a hard head. I don't believe anything till I see it, and I seen it. You know, and the EVPs are big. Like, you know, getting a recording of, and sometimes, well, you like you said, the other house had a different energy, and then you know maybe that was like a troublemaker, and then this house there's somebody there, but maybe it's not negative, because if it's negative, you'll know the signs as an investigator. You'll know you'll be depressed, your finances are low, you have medical problems, your equilibrium balance goes off, and every time you try to do something, it goes wrong, and the electronics get haywire in the house. Electronics is a big one. Like they know somehow that energy knows to manipulate cell phones, computers, radios,
and they know how to get to your weaknesses, like the appliances, like that drives us crazy, and
appliances.
It happens a lot because.
So if you're not experiencing the negative, then it's, I would say maybe there's a possibility it's a loved one. Just saying, like, you know, sometimes a loved one gives you a sign. You know, I want to tell you that as a paranormal investigator and a person who died and came back, and I had a near-death experience in 1981, I want to tell you that sometimes they give us signs that we don't realize, and they try to say, hey, I'm here. It could be an aunt, an uncle, a friend, a cousin, a relative, and we get scared. You know, we're afraid, like, oh, what is this? What is this? You know, and it took me a long time to comprehend that maybe it's somebody just trying to say hello.
Yeah.
And I wasn't convinced of that either till I had a medium come in. I don't believe in many of them, but a medium did come in, and she didn't know me from Adam, and she gave me word for word what my cousin would have said to me every time he's seen me. And nobody, she don't know me. And I froze, and I was like, how would you know that? And I felt my cousin's presence as she said his line that he would say to me. And it showed me that sometimes maybe it's just somebody that knows us that's saying, hey, I know you can communicate because you're a lighthouse. I want to talk to you, but they don't know how to come through. So that leads me to a question for whoever wants to answer it. Has a spirit ever come into your dream through some kind of manifestation and try to talk to you, and you're like, you wake up the next day and you're like, I didn't know that person in my dream?
I can't say that's ever happened to me. I have woken up, been in a dream state and seen hovering above my head, and the best I can describe it would be like a spidery scorpion black thing, but writhing and wriggling a foot above my head.
That was at the other house.
That was at the other house.
That's a lot.
I don't know how to describe it. It was definitely insect shaped. It was black and it was shiny, and the legs were just going all over like that in a circle above my head.
Wow,
that happened to me.
Are you
lived in New Jersey?
Yeah.
Remember?
Are you afraid of like insects, spiders, or anything like that?
Like a big nasty spider. I grew up in Arizona. I've seen tarantulas my whole life, so they don't necessarily horrify me, but that do make me a little uncomfortable than being in my house.
But that's what they go for. Like when you have
I don't like spiders.
Yeah, he calls me to kill the spiders.
And that happened. What you're saying is a similar, this not dream state, but where I was in between dream and up. That happened to me.
Yeah.
And I felt like I was going through some form of sleep paralysis before that, and to see that a foot above my face, and I'm trying to get away, but I can't.
Yep.
That's interesting. And I say that because they know how to play off your weaknesses and your fears. You know. What about your wife? Have you ever seen anybody in your dreams that you wake up and say, "Wait a second, who was that?"
No, no. I've never. The way he experienced, we both experienced in the old house, because it was the crazy energy. It hover above our bed all the time, and for me, the most like I'll say again, it has something to do. I know I've had experiences, but it has something to do with my daughter's intense energy, because when she was 2 months old, she was taken from our bed in the other house. And
that is something that did happen while we were sleeping, yeah.
That I used to nurse her, and it started with, I would wake up and I kept finding her hanging off the bed with her feet dangling. I'm like, I would tell him, like, that's weird, because she can't roll. She can't.
She's 2 months old. She's can stick her tongue out, and that's it.
I'm like, that's scary.
Yeah, and one time I woke up, and I get better at telling the story. It's a hard story, but one time I woke up and she's gone. And I just remember flying out of bed and like, oh my God, where's she? And we were just, he didn't know what was, he flies out of bed and he's running around the room, so he didn't know what's happening. And we actually found her around the corner by that crawl space. And I remember just being hysterical. And I remember bringing her to bed, and I didn't sleep. I can't tell you how many weeks I didn't sleep. And like, she was next to me every moment after that. And it was like, that's when things intensified. Like, it started setting things off in the house all the time. There was no batteries in anything in that house by the time we left, because it would play with her toys. It would make these voices come out of her toys that just I'll never forget. And like, I'd be upstairs, it would set smoke detectors off. So I'd run down there thinking, I'd take them off. I'd go upstairs, it set something else off. I'd run down the stairs. And years later, I would tell him, I was like, it was trying to get me out of that room away from her, because I would leave her upstairs. And because in the beginning, I'd carry her everywhere with me, but
that's really scary.
Yeah, we had one incident, because I would carry everything. I was so scared to leave her alone, that we had one situation that because it was upstairs in a basement, and the basement was horrible. There was something in that basement that you would just, when you'd go down there. And one time I was holding her, and like, I stopped midway, and I just felt something in there, and I was looking, and I was like frozen. And I'll tell him this day, I don't know what it was, but my right leg came out from under me, and her and I went down those stairs. And I remember going down and just holding her, going, just keep her against you. And I remember just like landing on the ground, and I could hear my son upstairs talking to his friend or whatever. And I was just frozen. I didn't feel no pain, so I was so frozen. And I just remember looking around the basement, like I knew something was staring right at me. And I was just like so scared. And then all of a sudden all the pain started rushing towards me and stuff. But it was just a point where I had to like leave her with my son. I couldn't go downstairs with her. I was so scared to take her anywhere in that house, because she was with me. It was like, I can't even explain it.
Do you think it was maybe like a woman that maybe lost a child or something like that?
I have no idea. I have no idea to this day. I've been doing a lot of work on my past, because I want to know why it started with me. So maybe it'll help me with her, because it's even more intense with her. She's so like aware. And
have you ever like brought anybody in to help?
No,
we've never had the opportunity to speak with a medium or anyone who has abilities like that. It just hasn't happened yet. I'd like to someday, though.
Okay.
Have you taken pictures in the home to see if you caught anything, any apparition?
We have a lot of pictures from that house that we always say we're going to go through. We haven't gone through them yet. It took a long time. I have a picture of a door from that house that right before we left, it was probably about a month, because we broke the lease. Well, we didn't break it. We left before it was up, and we paid on 2 houses, because I started getting sick. I started waking up not breathing, and I got really scared. And so we were getting ready to leave, and I went to open the door, and he's like, what the fuck? Excuse my language. And I was like, what? He's like, get over here. And I'm like, what? He's like, look at that door. And it was an image, which I can share with you. I've only shown a couple people, but
what it was like like, you know, the grain inside of a door. Like, you see the door behind her head up here. You can kind of see the dark, you know, markings in it, kind of like the grain of the wood. Well, embedded in the grain of that wood was a figure of like
Had wings.
The
and
thing
horns.
had wings. It had horns. It had like a snout, and you could see its arms and its legs, and you couldn't really see its feet. You couldn't tell.
That's not a good spirit.
Yeah.
That sounds like a demon. Period.
Yeah,
That's
that came out of nowhere.
Is a demon.
So that's the one bit of photo evidence that we do have from that house that clearly shows that something is evil in that place.
And I couldn't look at the picture for the first like 3 years after we left, and he would like, here, you want it on your phone? I couldn't even look at it because I was so scarred from that house that it took me a long time to be able to like, okay, I can look at it again. And we haven't gone through any of the pictures when our daughter was little because we talk about that. Like, we need to look at the pictures and the videos of us filming her and see what we see, because
that's traumatizing.
It's really, and we've actually, what was it, like a year ago? Because she kept saying that someone was talking to her in her room. So one night we let her sleep downstairs, and I actually put a camera up in her room, an infrared camera, and I caught little things moving around the room. I'm like, oh, that's probably just
it could be dust, could be.
And then it was like 5 a.m. He just left to work, and I'm watching this little light, and I'm just watching it. And I see it moving towards the little TV in her room. And I'm like, okay. And all of a sudden something just smacked the camera, and the camera just hits really hard and moves. And I was so frozen. I was like, oh my God. But
wow.
it was just, I think it just didn't like that we had set up the camera, whatever is in there. Because we don't feel nothing negative up there. It's definitely weird up there.
Yeah.
But nothing negative. So a lot.
Have you ever done a Ouija board?
I'm still stuck on the baby
I'm
moving. I can't.
I doesn't want to do them. I'm not afraid to try them. I did as a teenager. But
it's not that I don't want to do them. It's just that you hear all these stories, and I am not educated enough to feel that I would do it correctly without screwing something up or inviting something I should invite.
Yeah, that's how I feel.
I'd use it, but with somebody who really knows what they're doing to show me the right way to do it.
Yeah, it's something that you don't know who you're talking to.
Mm-hmm.
You don't know. There's a lot of trickery.
You have to be.
I learned that the hard way.
Yeah, you have to be really trained, like you said, you have to know what you're doing.
I don't think anybody knows. You could go on a Ouija board. Anybody can go on, but they don't know who they're talking to. You're not going to lie to me and tell me it's Mrs. Jones from the 15th century.
I'm
not buying it, and I'm not buying it because of experience. That some of these things make believe that there's somebody that they're pretty smart. And then they reel you in, so you want to do the Ouija board again and again and again, and before you know it, now you have an attachment.
It's very addictive.
And after that attachment, if you don't get rid of it, it can cause health problems. That's the one thing about paranormal I try to explain to a lot of people is that it's not just what you see and the voice you get on the EVP. There's other problems with this. As a paranormal investigator, you both know that if you're in a really haunted location, sometimes the batteries go dead and the equipment that you're using. And you have to say to yourself, well, if that's possible, and it is, then what could it be doing to me and my energy? And that's why we know this paranormal hangovers. The next day after investigation, you feel like you can't even leave the bed. And then you start to get these false thoughts in the mind. So, we want to be smart and investigate, but sometimes they're a lot smarter.
They're one step ahead.
And they know how to affect us and drain us. And maybe their intention is not to drain us, but they can. So you've been to a lot of different locations. Let's talk about some of those.
Definitely.
Yeah.
We're lucky living where we do. Up in Northeast Ohio, man, we are surrounded by tons and tons of not only ones that you see on TV, like the famous ones, which are always fun to go to, but just all over the place, the little teeny ones that no one's ever heard of. They are everywhere.
Wow.
Yeah, we're really lucky in our locations. Ohio State Reformatory was our first official paranormal investigation. That's a super famous one.
Amherst Asylum, we've done that. Trans-Allegheny, we investigated.
Bobby Mackey's, only 4 hours away. So
how was that?
Oh, it was awesome.
Lived up to the hype, that's
Yeah,
for sure.
We had a lot of activity.
As paranormal investigators and Bobby Mackey's, do you think these were the earthbound spirits that maybe died over there or somewhere around there back in the day?
I think it's a conglomeration, man. There's so much more history to that building that most people get to know about.
Yeah.
The grounds were used for so many different things, so it's really impossible to say. It could be residual of a mobster who was murdered on there, because the place used to be a mob bar. People even say that the basement is a portal to hell, that demons come through it. We didn't experience anything like that, but I will never ever rule that out, so it could be anything. We didn't get any concrete evidence saying this is what I am. So
yeah. Is there a location that you investigated that was, over the top, like that really left a mark on you guys?
Probably Pennhurst for me.
Pennhurst State School, definitely.
Yeah, that place was, the EVPs in that place, oh my God, it was just incredible. When you walk in there, you can just feel it everywhere.
So tell me about the EVPs. What did you get on the EVP? What did it say?
Well, one of the most clear ones we got was something saying, we're walking to the Devon building in the basement, and something clear as day said, take her home. It whispered it. I'm using my voice for the camera, but it said, take her home.
Oh, man.
And then there was one point where we turned the spirit box on in the Mayflower building. Was it the second floor or the third floor? And we're investigating just like a dorm room where one of the children may have lived when it was open. And the thing just went off. I think I counted one time. We got like 27 voices, 27 different voices, and it was less than a minute and a half. I think it was like 87 seconds or something like that. It was a lot of voices. More spirits surrounding us in that moment than we've ever had at once. It was incredible.
Wow.
You could feel the energy, right?
Oh yeah. And every single one of those voices, you could hear what it said, and they were all different.
Anything ever go home with you guys from there?
Not from Pennhurst. I really do think that something did follow us home from Ohio State Reformatory, though. We investigated that place twice consecutively, and one of the things that happened to us here was, I want to say, was it the next night or 2 nights later after that? After the investigation, our front door flew open. Our locked front door that had a locked screen in front of it unlocked itself and flew open and set the house alarm off.
And then the following night, our daughter woke up saying that there was a man standing in her doorway. So we're like, yep, time to cleanse the house.
Yeah.
So we started doing things differently when we left locations after that, making sure we did a better job closing things before we left. And we haven't had anything like that since. So it took one time for something like that to happen to us. We'll have it.
Do you guys do residential cases?
We haven't done anything like that yet.
We're open to it. We just haven't had the opportunity yet. No one in our area stepped forward saying, hey, will you come over? So if that ever happens, we'd do it. We just haven't been given the opportunity yet.
Now, what do you like to use as far as equipment that gives you the most compelling evidence?
As far as equipment goes, we really keep it basic. We don't have too many gadgets. We use 3 different recorders. We just acquired a second camera, which we're going to start using, a night vision camera, because we like to investigate in the dark. And then the spirit box with a JBL. And then last year we actually won in a contest, the REM pod. So we've been trying to play with that too. Haven't had too much success yet, but we're bringing it with us and attempting to use it here and there. But that's really it.
The recorders are the best, though.
Recorders,
definitely.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Hold that digital recorder, man. That's my favorite piece of.
Everybody says that.
Yeah, you can't rule that out. That's for sure.
Everybody spends so much money on all this, and
all you need is a digital recorder. Let's go back to the Warrens, right?
Yeah.
Amityville, The Conjuring, a recorder.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
I cannot wait to go to the Conjuring house.
Yeah, we definitely, that's on the bucket list.
Yeah.
I'd love to go to the Conjuring house.
What about the Winchester house?
Oh, that would be amazing too. Yeah.
That location would be incredible as well.
Yeah.
I would love to go there.
So let's talk about Paraflix.
Yeah.
So you guys are doing really, really, really great. Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
How did this experience, how did it all come together?
Well, we had been on YouTube for a couple of years. I don't want to say we were struggling because we were lucky. We had a lot of good support. We were getting some pretty good views per video we were putting out. And then we just happened to hear through the grapevine that this, Netflix for the Paranormal streaming service was looking for people to join the team. And that Patty Negri, she's been featured on Ghost Adventures a few times, that she was one of the executives on it. And so we reached out and had our interviews or whatever, and they watched our stuff and they liked it. So we were actually one of the original teams to be, or one of the original content producers for the opening of that whole streaming service.
Oh, really?
Yep.
Oh, wow.
That's awesome.
That's awesome.
Yeah, we got really lucky, man. It was really, really nice after a few years to step away from YouTube and stop worrying about view counts and thumbs up and thumbs downs and
I know.
comments and people trolling your videos, and
Oh,
not having to worry about that anymore. It changed the game for us, and it helped me as far as being a video editor.
mhm.
It's helped me learn a lot about creating episodes rather than videos. I don't know if that makes any sense.
Yeah, it does.
And you get a more intelligent audience
Yep.
based on the topic versus the troll who
Yep.
tries to debunk and criticize stuff out there. So
Yeah.
your work becomes more appreciated.
Yep.
Exactly.
So that's great.
Yeah, it's a really good platform.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Really,
this is great.
Mhm.
They're growing too. They're
Oh
big.
my God, yeah.
yeah. Every day it's new people. It's really fun to watch.
And it's interesting, and it's real. Like, do you have anybody in your family or friends says, "Oh, come on, there's no such thing as a
Oh
ghost"?
yeah.
Oh
Have you
yeah,
had-
I do it all the
What
time.
do you say?
That guy's at work. I work with Menly Man. No, that's a bunch of crap. That's a bunch of fake. It's all fake. It's stupid. And it's like, I don't know what to tell you, man. I go in a room, I hold out a recorder, I ask a question, and the damn thing answers me. So I don't know. You can call that fake all you want, but that's not fake.
It's what are you gonna do? Not everybody's gonna believe it. It happens to us too. Not every family, friends.
And
It's always
that's
good to be.
one reason we really appreciate, you guys having us on and tell our story. It took us a long, long time to be comfortable sharing this stuff without the worry that people are going to look at us like we're back crap crazy.
Yeah, we never shared what happened to us until Natalie, who was another executive, brought us on Paraflex, because I shared, my family knew what had happened to us, because my family's always been pretty supportive. They thought I was a little weird in the early years when I would explain what was happening, but no one really knew our backstory, what happened to us and our daughter, and it was like really hard to share it the first time.
Yeah.
It's such an emotional thing, but
Then it sounds like we're exaggerating, but it's
It's-
really nice to be on platforms where you can really be honest and explain
Mhm.
what happened,
Mhm.
and people actually accept what you're saying and
Mhm.
realize that they've gone through things too, and that you're not crazy.
yeah.
You're not.
Yeah.
So, as paranormal investigators, do you think ghosts can help people besides the
Question.
spooks and the scariness and the knocks? Do you think, in your opinion, they could actually be helpful to us in the physical realm?
Of course they could be helpful. I really think that just the simple thing of helping somebody conquer a fear. How about someone's horrified of things they can't see or they can't explain, and all of a sudden you can become enlightened because of what you capture on your digital recorder, or what you inadvertently capture while you are recording someone on your phone. And that's just one basic thing that they can help you with.
So then, in essence, what we're saying is that we go on. When we die, cross over, it's not the end.
Mhm.
We go on to another form of energy. True?
I think
Oh yeah.
so.
Either another form of energy or the same energy, just not confined to a vessel or one particular vessel.
Right
Yeah.
to a vessel. That's true. I like that.
Heard that.
That's so true.
Hmm.
Being free
Yeah.
out of the body, out of the physical realm, being free. Hey, and to the listener out there, I want to say this. For those that may question whether ghosts exist, I want everyone to think about this for a second. Let's go back 20 years ago when, if you told someone that you were abducted, or you thought you seen a UFO, or there's a such place as Area 51, it was denied by the United States government. It was denied by most people, and no one wanted to really come forward because they felt stupid. Well, Now let's backtrack the last 2 years on all the news stations and all the videos that are being caught by our astronauts.
Yeah.
So where there's something out there, it is a craft, it is not a demon, it is a craft. And now the government's coming forward and saying, we don't know exactly what it is. So what does that tell you? It tells you that the possibilities of every realm, whether it's natural or unnatural, does exist within the physicality of what we can see, hear, and conceive. And the ghosts, demons, angels, people that we've loved that crossed over, they're never, ever, ever truly gone. The way when we cross over, we all have a clock ticking within us. We're never gone. And you know, as paranormal researchers ourselves, I try to teach people how this is not the end.
Yeah.
This isn't it. I promise you. And you know, I'm more of a messenger because of my near-death experience, and I know that side exists. This is not the end. In fact, you said it perfectly. This is the vessel. This is something that once you're outside of the vessel, you're open, you're free, and you don't have that pain and that emotional feeling of sadness. It's just that it's the true person of you. And a lot of orbs, now most orbs, we can rule orbs out as dust particles and water vapors, but there are true orbs.
Well, there are.
And I believe from my experience that the energy of a spirit, the way we see it with our eyes and the equipment that we have now sees it, is a ball of energy. But does it really look like that through another lens that maybe we haven't created yet? Maybe that is the actual apparition. We're just not having it magnified to what it should be. So we can say, wow, there is that person. A lot of these investigations, myself and Julie and you know, I'm sure you have done, and so many people that we've interviewed, we talk about a home that's haunted, and the home does not have stairs, for example.
Yeah.
But yet, on the
them.
recording, there's someone running up and down the stairs, only to find out that the home was refurbished and remodeled, where stairs once existed.
Yeah.
And then we talk about, well, then there's different dimensions. And just because we don't see the stairs and they don't exist means that these spirits are not in their time frame, like the 1800s or the beginning of the 1900s or the 1700s, where maybe that some of them are still there. We try to figure out every single piece of it. I think that's almost impossible, but they go on and we go on. So when you know your home that you live in and where we live in, I'm sure I'll be haunting people when I cross over this house, but we go on in our energy. So some of it's residual, right? It's a replay, and other is intelligent. It's there because if you ask a question and you're getting an answer based on that question right then and there, that's an intelligent response. So then there's that communication of you're here. And I've asked spirits, can you see me? Yes. Can you hear me? Yes.
That's precisely what I like to do. I like to go out there and not ask the traditional. I mean, of course, I will ask, what's your name? What color shirt are you wearing? What color shirt am I wearing? But I also like to ask, can you see each other? Can you speak to each other? Is it cold where you are? Do you like it when it's cold? I ask things like that because I really want to learn more about where they dwell.
I think it's like another dimension. It's like we're inside of one bubble and they're in another bubble outside of our bubble.
Like the others.
And they can come through back and forth.
Yeah.
And we know time is linear, so that whole essence of time on their side may seem to exist within their realms. And we try to figure out, well, that's back 200 years ago, and maybe it isn't. Maybe they're still living in that time frame. And it's hard to conceive that, right?
Maybe to us it's 200 years ago, but to them it's tomorrow.
But through all the investigations we've done and had done at our home, it seems like we call them ghosts, but I don't know if I would call them ghosts. It's us. We go on. It's spirits, right? Yeah. It seems like they say some of us when you die, you really don't know that you die, and you're going on into another dimension of a frame of who you really are in the existence of that space. So it's fascinating. I love it. I think the topic of paranormal, what we do, is so open, and more people now becoming more receptive.
Definitely.
And you know, I like what you both do, and I like the fact that you're putting it on Paraflex, and your daughter has abilities. You know, I want to say something. I've had a guest on a few weeks ago. Sometimes a spirit from the other side comes with a person who was born in the physical world.
Yes.
It sounds bizarre, right? But
it makes sense, though.
It's like a soul group thing. There's the physical, and then there's the spirit that comes with the physical.
Yeah. It's a dual birth.
That's like, that's mind blowing.
Yeah. And they come in soul groups, and even though it's not taking a physical form, the spirit, it's like a guardian angel to protect, to watch over, and make sure that everything is okay for that person.
Yeah.
As they're born and their steps through. Because a lot of the people that we interviewed, including yourself, it happens at adolescence where you're starting to see an apparition. I cannot tell you how many people we've interviewed that's what they say. And me too. I was young, and I used to have nightmares turning to night tremors. I wake up seeing things that don't exist. I tried telling your parents that in the 70s. They said you would get a slap or go back to bed. I chose to go back to bed. But no one wanted to hear about ghosts in the 70s. Not my parents, anyway. But as you get older, then you start to see shadows, and you hear voices, and you're like, well, where's this coming from? Am I crazy, or is this really happening?
Yeah, and then your parents say, oh, yeah, I didn't want to
tell you. And now today's world, look at today's world. It's all over television.
Yeah, then your parents say, well, I didn't want to have to tell you when you were young, but this is what was happening.
Yeah. While I was slapping you, I was seeing it too.
Right? It's true. And Mama today, she's like, well, by the way, that kind of did happen. I'm like, really?
So both of you, tell us your goal. Like, you're on Paraflex, you're investigators. Tell us your goal. Like, do you want to try to one day capture the Holy Grail of the full apparition? Talk to us.
Yeah, of course, that's the goal, is to really do what we've been talking about this whole time. Just get the message out there, and really just do our best to capture the most groundbreaking evidence that we possibly can. And that comes from the videographer in me, that I really want to one day capture it on video.
And I want awareness that it's real. I want awareness that things happen to people, and it affects their entire life, and people not to be afraid to talk about it, because it's hard for me to still talk about, but it's like, and it drives me to go out more, though. I tell them all the time, I'm like, we're getting ready to go full force again. We're taking our kids on a vacation, and then we're going to come back and go full force investigating again. And it's like, I'm just determined. I need to find that thing that just clarifies everything for me, because I have so many questions about myself and my daughter, and it's
And then what happens is you leave with more questions.
Yeah.
You get some answered, and then it's just.
From what you tell me, from the story you're telling us, the experiences that you've had, I think it's where you live now. I think it's somebody that's watching over.
And it could be, and I've talked because my dad died like over 20 years ago, and our other kids, when they were little, had with like my oldest daughter was like, one day she's like, why were you at the edge of my bed last night? I'm like, I wasn't at your bed. She's like, I saw someone tall. My dad used to look like a biker, long hair and stuff, and I was like, nope, that must have been Grandpa, but then I didn't experience it myself or anything for many, many years. And then our daughter, she's been experiencing things. I'm like, maybe it's my dad, he never met her. He never got to meet her, and, he died many years ago. And then I recently lost my mom recently. So it's just like, just the energy, there's a lot of energy right now. So it could be.
Yeah. It's sad when you lose someone you love.
Yeah.
And that's another reason we're in paranormal, right? Because it's the experiences of, ghosts are real. We go on, and that means the loved ones that I've lost go on. That means if I backtrack 3 minutes ago into this conversation, when I'm asking the spirit, can you hear, see me? Yes, yes. So that means the loved one can do that as well.
Yeah.
And when you talk out loud, or like they say, a song goes on the radio and you're thinking about a parent, or there's a certain perfume or cologne, or you see a cardinal. These are signs that the other side is saying, hey, I'm here.
Yeah. I had a sign when my mom passed too. My when my mom died, was it 5 years ago? My dad, he actually bequeathed us the Jeep Cherokee that she was driving at the time, because he had his own cars. He didn't really like it. He bought it for her, and he knew we could really use a second car, so he kind of bequeathed it to us. And he drove it into town, and we met him at his hotel and gave us the keys, and I sat in the driver's seat. I went to put it in gear, and I felt my mom's hand on my hand as I went to shift it, almost like telling me, like, this is right. This is what I want.
Wow.
That's
He
nice.
was really emotional about it.
Yeah, I cried like a baby.
Yeah.
I got chills just talking about it now.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I know exactly what you're talking about. It's real.
I love to hear things like that. Everybody hears paranormal, they get scared. It's not always scary.
No, it's not.
I mean, there are cases like, there are negative entities,
but
there's also the good side,
Yes.
right? Where the loved ones are trying to watch over.
Yeah.
And, there's a nice side to this as well. And I believe, even to the listener out there, that talk to a loved one out loud. It doesn't have to be just through meditation. Talk out loud. Sometimes they'll acknowledge and they'll respond back in a way where you'll get this thought subconsciously through the mind. Hey, wait a second. I remember that time I was with you when we did this. And that's a beautiful feeling. It's a very nice thing. And they're truly never, ever forgotten, because they're truly never gone. They're gone in the physical realm, but they're not gone in the spiritual realm. And that's where we all end up eventually. And that's a beautiful thing. And the fact that, there's people like yourself and so many people around the world that communicate, it's a learning, it's teaching, and it's helping other people cope with life experiences as well, I believe, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Going through some hard times, and then you talk to a loved one on the side that they can acknowledge you. And to the listener out there, you could just put a recorder, a digital recorder. If you lost someone that you love, ask a question. Sometimes you may get an answer. You may get a hi, you may get I love you, you may get something from the other side. They're truly never, ever gone. And that's very important.
Or even a smart ass remark that makes you laugh, something that they know that you would appreciate.
Yes.
Most definitely. So as we're coming down to the end of the show, tell us like some of the locations you might be going to and all that good stuff.
We're heading to Indiana State Sanitarium. We're going to Monroe House this year. We're going to
we're going to try to hit hospital on Old College Hill.
Yeah, we want to do that one. There's a couple schools we're going to investigate. We have about 9 lined up right now. We're hoping to get some more. So we're going to go full force.
And then we have some stuff that we have previously filmed that are going to be coming out in the 3rd season.
Hinsdale House and Ashmore Estates is coming out.
Yeah. So we've got quite a bit lined up for this year. We're actually pretty excited.
It just takes a long time because it's just us that does all the editing and does everything. So it takes a while to get it all out.
The editing forever.
I was going to ask that before. Do you ever bring anybody in to help you, or you guys just...
We do it all ourselves.
Yeah.
It takes a long time to go through every second of footage. So
I want to be as authentic as possible.
Yeah.
If I can't tell what it's saying, I'm going to turn it up and slow it down and listen to it 500 times until I know for a fact. Every voice, every VP,
that sounds just like me.
Dissect every little thing.
Hey, where can people find both of you?
What's that?
Where can people find you?
We're on TikTok. We're on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. We're everywhere right now. So and
of course Paraflix.
Yeah.
Paraflix.
And Francis, thank you for telling our listeners and us that story. I know it was hard for you.
Of course, it helps me. It's therapy for me to be able to talk about it. So.
Well, thank you so much for coming on Horsefly Chronicles Radio. Keep up the great work.
Thank you.
We definitely want to talk to you in the future about some more investigations you've done. Having said that, Julie, wrap it up.
Okay, guys. Well, special thank you to Carnation for fully sponsoring the show. We love them. Join us next Monday night at 8 o'clock, 7 at CT on 105.3 FM from New Orleans. And stay tuned for Trishmo with the missing piece. Thank you guys for coming on tonight.
Thank you for coming
really
on.
appreciate
And really
it.
quick, our condolences to someone in the paranormal
Yes.
field, Bill Freeman, who crossed over today. Our hearts are broken. He was a very nice
Yes.
guy, and our prayers are with the family. And he was part of, when you're part of the paranormal, you're part of our whole family. So we want to say the condolences to that family and prayers. And thank
Yeah.
Bill for the work that he's done throughout all the investigations he's done.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone, and have a great night.
Have a great night.
Have a great night.
Thank you.